So let's talk to immigration lawyer Ivon Sampson. Morning, Ivon.
Morning, Kevin.
The government's saying that if they don't get on board today, then they'll lose some of their rights. They'll have their asylum applications cancelled. You can understand. I mean, Care for Calais getting involved, helping these people lodge all these objections to going on to this barge. You can understand across the country there's a certain amount of fury because some of them have mysteriously developed a terror of water since coming across the channel. Nobody believes a word of that. I don't know why lawyers are getting behind that nonsense. And also, people are very angry that these asylum seekers who just pitched up on our beaches are now saying, oh, I'm sorry, that's not... I require a better standard of accommodation. I'm not getting onto that barge. I mean, frankly, Ivon, who do they think they are?
Look, I sympathise with your comments, and it's right that we should provide them with decent accommodation. I don't know much about why the lawyers, the grounds, other than the fact they're fair water, but if they don't have good grounds, then the individuals can have their asylum applications revoked. The problem is, what do we do with them afterwards? What it highlights is the government's inefficiency to deal with those people that are not genuine. And let's say at the moment about half are not genuine, and the government can't seem to get a handle on what we do with people once we refuse them. We can't remove them. There's nowhere to send them to. We can't detain them at the moment because we don't have powers to remove them. We can't really decide where they're from. Many of them, asylum seekers, are not from where they say they are. We don't have a proper system for that. And what it highlights is the government's inefficiency and inability to deal with the asylum problem. That's what it does. And so I think what they need to do to solve the accommodation crisis is to solve the decision-making and removal. If you're not a genuine asylum seeker, you have no right to be in this country, you should be removed. And the government cannot do that. And so what it's trying to do is blame everyone, including lawyers, these lawyers making these applications. I don't know much about it, but I have very little sympathy, like you. If you not have a good foundation for making these claims that you fair water, they'll be found out by the court. But what it will do is delay the matters. And sometimes I think there's political reasons for that.
If we do, it's a really interesting point you make, and I completely agree. You know, what do we do with people once we refuse them? Are we not able to fly them back to their home country?
Well, this is a problem because most of them don't have any documents. So trying to find out which country they're actually from is a problem. And then getting agreements with those countries to accept them is again a problem. We're talking about Syria. We have no relationships with Syria. Or Yemen. We have no relationships with them. So to get those agreements in place is not going to happen, I mean, in the short term. So either we let them live on the streets and we have Sandgate type situation as they did in Calais, or we house them until somebody comes up with a good mechanism to deal with them. Because at the end of the day, we've got to do something with these people. We can't let them languish, especially children and vulnerable women. We can't just leave them to their own devices. If we certainly can't detain them. That would be inhumane.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. These people are not prisoners, but they are a massive problem. Now, not so long ago, the Daily Mail published a really fine investigation where an undercover reporter talked to a series of immigration lawyers and sort of legal operatives, and they were recorded and pictured, photographed, basically offering this undercover reporter kind of stories, you know, that, oh, don't say that, you know, say that you're a victim of war and torture, say you have suicidal thoughts, you know, coming up with all the triggers that would tend to get an application for asylum accepted. Now, Suella Braverman today is saying, I'll wage war on crooked migration lawyers. I'm sure that you would agree that those kind of people bring your profession into disrepute and they shouldn't do this. This is against the law. When she says, I'll wage war on crooked migration lawyers, well, why doesn't she start with the ones that were pictured in the Daily Mail, who, as far as I know, have not even been spoken to by the police since that expose?
Yeah, but it's a criminal offence to do this, and the National Crime Agency has powers to arrest these people. Look, every single profession has some bad apples. These guys are bad apples.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And I don't look at, generally speaking, there's few people like that. But again, what the government's trying to do is blame everybody but their own inefficiencies and inability to deal with this problem. Because they know they've got to stop the boats. If they don't get the numbers down, it's going to be a vote loser on the government's ability to manage this asylum system. And they know that. So they're going to want to blame everybody. This is politicking other than their own inefficiencies and not having a proper strategy, not having a proper system. Look, there are more caseworkers than we've ever had before. That is not the problem, to deal with these decisions. But the decision-making percentages are a fraction of what they were 10 years ago. Why? They should be held account to that. Your listeners should be writing, not complaining about asylum. Look, we can't control people coming across the border because the French won't help us. We know
that's true.
Unless the French help us, there's nothing we can do. It's somebody else's foreign soil. So what we can control is what we do with them when they get here. And we've got to separate the good apples from the bad apples, from those people who are not genuine, who are economic migrants. We've got to identify them and remove them as quickly as possible. We're not doing that. The powers and the laws are here for us to do that. And the government simply isn't using them.
Yeah, I thought you and I might disagree on all of this, Ivon, but I've agreed with every single word that you've said. What I want to know, as you alluded to earlier, is what the hell did the French do with that £500 million that Rishi gave them back in March to patrol their own beaches? Because ever since then, the numbers, because it's that time of year, the numbers of migrants coming across the Channel has been soaring, you know. So we're looking at that barge, which I think can take about 509 young male migrants. At the current rate, that's about one day's worth of migrants coming across the Channel. What did they do with that money, do you think?
Do you know what I would have done? I would have popped the boats, is what I would have done. Look, it's not performance related. I mean, it's extraordinary that we give the government tens of millions of pounds, and yet there's no performance related scheme, that they don't get paid for every person they stop. That's what I would have done. I said, for every person you stop, I will pay you X amount of money. But no, we just give them a blank check, and we don't monitor what they're doing. It's the worst agreement and negotiating tactics I've ever seen.
Well, Ivon, I hereby put you in charge of the migrant crisis because you've got some good solutions there, which is more than the government has. Great to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. That was Ivon Sampson, immigration lawyer.